This is part of a video series discussing some of the insider traits found within the gaming world, as well as some ways we can protect ourselves and others from the potential dangers that online gaming can bring. How have you noticed games evolving over the years? Since when you were a youth, maybe playing the arcade games that you put a quarter in and, you were done after a period of time, to what kids are playing today?
Yeah, so in the past, absolutely. You put a quarter in a video game and, you played your three guys and you were done. But now, because there are so many sport-based games can go on for quite a while, or you may have a game where you're developing a character over a period of time, and that can last quite a long time with lots of play hours.
So because games have evolved over the years, and because you have youth and adults playing in the same arena now, what are some things that parents need to be aware of and have discussions about with their children because of the evolution of these games?
So you don't know who you're playing with, and your children do not either. So that is a big concern. You could be playing against somebody very young or somebody very old. You could be playing with somebody with a fine personality. You could be playing with somebody relatively rough. So parents certainly need to educate their children. Number one, you don't know who you're playing with, regardless of what their name looks like or appears to be. And number two, you have to take everybody with a grain of salt and be careful with what you see and who you engage with. Obviously, if a kid can feel comfortable enough to say, yeah, I know there was a guy talking to me today and I didn't like what he was saying, you can start a conversation about, you don't have to engage people, or, let's look at profanity filters for you, or, let's be safe, and here's a couple things you can do. I mean, honestly, parent engagement is your biggest tool. One of the things that kids have at their hands, and they know how to use it too, is an ignore. So if somebody is talking to me and I just don't want to talk to them for whatever reason, maybe I'm just not interested, or maybe they're harassing me, I can ignore a particular player and never hear from them again. Well, when we grew up, Jeanine, there was a single telephone hanging in the wall in the kitchen.
Yes.
And your parents knew exactly what you were talking to and what you were saying, and Yeah. So I think the same thing could be done with the computer. Keep your kids' online activities within view. That's going to keep them safe. That's going to curb their activity. They're certainly going to make better choices knowing somebody's looking over their shoulder.
Yeah. So not letting them just play in their room with the door shut.
That's probably a bad practice.
So another hot topic is talking about gaming and gambling. And even as we're looking at sports betting, we're seeing lots of commercials. It's really being talked about more and more. What are some of the gambling opportunities that can happen within gaming that parents need to be aware of, and that I think young people need to be aware of, so that they don't go down the path of developing a problem with gambling?
So you might not understand how some of this stuff works, but within games, there are some what we call loot boxes. And loot boxes are a way to enhance your character. Maybe not with an ability, but with a special skin or a cool look for their weapon or whatever. So what you want to be aware of is that when a child opens up a loot box, there's a % chance that something's going to be good. Maybe there's a common item or even an uncommon item, but all these kids are looking for rare items, something that makes them stand out. And every time they open that loot box, there's another chance for a super cool or rare thing. So in a way, that is gambling, in the sense that here I am continuously pulling a lever, hoping for 3 bars and a good payout. Well, kids are doing the same thing in their games, opening loot boxes, hoping for that good payout. And it certainly does mimic gambling, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I hear some of the myths that you hear adults who have a gambling problem share of, developing those false beliefs that I'm really getting good at this. Like, I know some tricks or some ways to kind of beat the system and, win at this, which gambling is always chance. It's always 50-50 chance. You're not really running into getting good at gambling, but that's a myth that people can develop in their head. So that's my fear, is that especially for young ones who their brain's not fully developed yet. They don't have that frontal lobe, which is responsible for reasoning and decision making, fully developed, which is why young people need guidance and help in those areas so that they don't go down a path that's dangerous.
But we also have a lot of kids too that know it's volume. So if I open a ton of loot boxes, surely I'm going to get something worth some value. And I hear lots of parents complaining, "Hey, my kid spent quite a bit of money in this game or that." And it's disheartening, but you know what? You need to have a talk with your kid that, some of this stuff is just like gambling, a 1 in a million shot, and your chances of actually scoring big are very slim.
Talking then about that spending of money, because I have heard that parents saying, I didn't realize my son or my daughter was spending X amount of dollars on gaming, and they didn't realize it till the end of the month when their credit card bill came in. What are some ways that they could kind of curb that spending with their children?
All right, first of all, talk to your kids. Let them know that you are spending real money. This is mom and dad's grocery bill, house payment, whatever it is. Let them know that, my gosh, there needs to be a limit. And if you have trouble setting a limit with your kid, I suggest getting like a reloadable Visa card. You know what? If you want to let your kids spend, I say knock yourself out, but that reloadable Visa card will certainly give you some reign over just how much they spend and how often. And if they go crazy, then the only money they've spent is the money you've put there.
And maybe even that money that's on that reloadable Visa card is something they earn. So that way they have that real value of money. So it's not just, hitting a button and playing a game and it disappears. But if they had to really earn that money, or that was their birthday money or Christmas money or whatever it may be, and it's gone in 3 seconds because they've spun the wheel or whatever, tried for the loot box, they can really kind of feel that pain, if you will, of loss from spending that money.
Yeah, it's a good teachable moment.
So also looking at when we game and the games that are played, it can release a lot of endorphins in our brains, which are chemicals in our brains that can really, make us feel good. So we get endorphins from lots of different things, but it's that feel-good chemical in your brain. And they say that feel-good chemical can be somewhat addictive to your brain. So your brain gets used to those endorphins over and over and wants more and more of them. So I've heard it said that it's really helpful then to really vary your gaming, because it is a high endorphin activity with low endorphin activities. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So again, you just need to vary your screen time with other activities. I think that the high endorphin activities can become addictive. So obviously, if you have lots of flashing colors, your eyes, your ears, or you're tuned into a game for way too long, it's just a dangerous thing. You're just going to want to function in any other capacity. But if you can, trade up video games for, something else, I think you're just going to be better off in the long run.
So I have heard of youth who got into the trap of really having a problem with their gaming, where they felt like they couldn't stop. They would stay up all throughout the night gaming. I've heard of college students missing classes to continue to game. They really knew that they had a problem because they really couldn't stop. They tried to stop and they could not. So if you know of anyone that has that problem, or if you suspect maybe your child is starting to develop that problem, don't be afraid to reach out for help. There's help out there. There's people that specialize in, addiction and even gaming addiction and gambling addiction that could really help them along the way to get the help that they need so that they can function well and be healthy. I've included in the description of this video some ideas of some conversation topics that you could have with your children to get those conversations going. So today we have my good friend Brad here. He's going to tell us a little bit about the esports teams and his
the sport ball teams.
Hi, so we have Brad here with us today. He's going to tell us a little bit about esports. So go ahead, Brad.
The Brad and Jeanine Show.
I don't know how many viewers we would have on that show.
That'd be a sweet show.
Agreed?
Yes.
Agreed.